to this event. We are Keep Colorado Free and Open. We should probably, yay! We probably should have named ourselves Make Colorado Free Again or something like that, because it just seems like it's not ending, right? And we're tired, we're sick of it, and we want it to end. And we're going to talk tonight about how to make that happen. And you're going to get a lot of ideas about ways that you can get involved and become active. If you're anything like me, I was not a political activist before any of this happened. I went and I voted when it was time to vote. And sometimes I would get active with political candidates, for instance, Kevin Lundberg, who's here tonight. Yay, Kevin, thank you. And we have Greg Lopez as well. Woohoo! Thank you, Greg, for coming. We appreciate it. Is Donna Walter here yet? She'll be here eventually. Any other officials that I do not recognize? Vicky Marble. Yay, thank you for coming. Repeat your name. Hans Heimer, Senate District 14. Thank you for coming. Somebody else said another name. Jackie, you here? Thank you for your support, Jackie. We appreciate you coming. Dan Marino? Thank you. Thanks for coming. So, this all started back in March, right? We were all willing to stay in our homes for 2 weeks because we didn't know anything about this virus that was coming. And we were compliant and we stayed in there. And then 2 weeks later, we realized, oh, this isn't going to end, and it still hasn't. And we're fed up. And we did not want to overwhelm the healthcare system. That seemed reasonable. That hasn't happened. It's not happened anywhere. The statistics are completely flawed, and they're playing with them all the time, skewing the numbers, skewing the cases, skewing the deaths, skewing the whatever. Nobody even knows what's right and what's true anymore, but yet that's driving policy, and they call it science, and they call it data, and we are frustrated because it's not. And we're hearing about what's happening in other countries where they are sending their children back to school. The children are fine. There's never been a case of a child infecting a teacher, according to these other countries that have sent their children back to school. So what is the deal here? Why are we trusting our science when other people have experience with this, right? Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. So that's just one of several examples. And it's been confusing, but it's also fearful because we are conservative, law-abiding citizens, right? And we pride ourselves on being law-abiding. We don't go to prison. We don't want to go to prison. We don't want that reputation. And so when we're told to do something, we do it. But we're being told to do things that are not law. And things are being passed down to us in the name of mandates, orders, regulations, you name it, by people who are not legislators. When you put a legislator and an executive together, that's called a king. And we got rid of those 244 years ago, right? So we're sick of it. We said no more kings, and we do not want to be in this situation. But unfortunately, we've let ourselves be. So what we're going to talk about tonight is how to exercise our rights and how to do it legally, how to do it peacefully, and we're going to learn together. Like I said, I'm not an expert in political activism. I'm not an expert in the Constitution, but I'm learning, and we're able to consult other people who are experts in these things, and they're going to help us along. So we're going to hear from various groups tonight that are taking action, and you can get involved with them. And we also have a speaker. Unfortunately, it is not Sheriff Smith. He declined coming. I apologize. We can talk about it later, but this climate, you know how everything changes about every 2 minutes with the ordinances and the mandates and orders and all that? It's the same thing. There's been a lot of changes just in the last week, and there was a counter protest. I mean, we're not a protest, but there was like a counter event that was planned to come here called Crashing the Party. And part of the reason that Sheriff Smith didn't want to come is he didn't want to escalate anything. And it can happen very quickly. Some of the questions that the people were asking and wanted Sheriff Smith to answer, he was afraid maybe would cause more stress and more volatility than what's worth it. So anyhow, he's not here, but we hope to have another event, and we hope to plan several, future events where we are communicating with our officials and we're understanding what their role is in government and how they can help us and how they're supposed to cooperate with the citizens. We, as the citizens, we hold the power, we hold the authority, and we delegate that to our officials. It's not them saying, oh, this is what you can do. Our rights are God-given. They're not privileges, right? So if they're God-given, then the government cannot take them away from us. If we are given a privilege from the government, they can take that away from us, but not our rights. So, Keep Colorado Free and Open is about education. We educate about the Constitution, about how our officials are lying about coronavirus and the statistics, and how to interpret that data for yourself. We educate you about your officials and what their role is. And then we inform you. We show you how you can find out what your legislators are doing. So everybody's pretty familiar now with going on the executive order page, right, for Jared Polis and finding out what his latest whim is. There's the same thing for all of our officials. So you can find out what's going through the House, what's going through the Senate, what are they working on, what kind of lawsuits are there, what's going through the judicial system. We have all of this information with links on our website. You can find your officials, you can write to your officials. Then we also focus on enforcing the Constitution, which is what we're going to focus on tonight, and that is how to exercise those rights when they're being infringed upon. So we have action resources on our website, letters that you can write, phone campaigns that you can do, causes that you can get involved with, things that you can invest in, protests. We have been involved in some peaceful protests and rallies, like the vaccine rally that was down in Denver just a couple months ago, and mass legal action, and that will be spoken about tonight. So please pick up our information, go to our website. We have a Facebook page, join our group, request to join our group, we'll let you in. And we communicate about these things in that group, and we're very focused on action. A lot of Facebook groups are just kind of an echo chamber where people complain, and they're like, keyboard warriors. We're not about that. It's okay if we share some fun things and some memes, but we're serious about taking action and not just talking about it, okay? Yay! All right. Is Joe Oltman here by chance? Yay, Joel. Please come up here. Joe is with Reopen Colorado. And I believe you're also with FEC Colorado, correct? So he's going to tell us about these two groups and how you can get involved. This is about enforcing your constitutional rights.
How you guys doing? You guys ready to reopen Colorado? Has anybody here heard of FEC Colorado at all? Anybody here reopen Colorado? Heard of that? Okay. So we started Reopen Colorado literally on a whim. I actually run a data company. I'm the CEO of a data company. I've stayed out of politics completely, like completely out of politics. And own a bunch of stuff. And a lot of my clients, when they shut down Colorado, when they shut down states across the country, were being adversely affected. I was watching businesses burn. I was watching families actually lose their businesses. And I had a friend of mine that ran a manufacturing company, $400 million company, a really big company, and a big bank literally shut down his line of credit when the stock market dropped by 1,000 points. So that was on a Tuesday. He committed suicide on a Wednesday. Excuse me, that was on a Monday. He committed suicide on a Tuesday, and they gave him back his line of credit on a Friday. So for me, I just figured that, you know, I pretty much achieved the things that I wanted to achieve. I've done some great things. And so I just got tired and just said, screw it. I was going to say another word, but I said the other word. And I just decided what's that? We got kids here, though. We want to make sure we honor the kids. And so then we had these protests downtown, and we started combining efforts with guys like John Tig Tigan. Anybody know who he is? Benghazi, 13th hour. See that? Yeah. So we started combining efforts with him, and we started combining efforts with people like Greg Lopez and kind of the vaccine movement. And I'm not anti-vaccine at all. I'm pro-vaccine. But I actually didn't know I was anti-vaccine because I didn't have enough information. So now I'm just bipolar. So Reopen Colorado, they started opening. They started giving us little pieces back. And I started fighting against polis. And I started, you know, spending money in the marketplace to help businesses open. We organized in southern Denver 462 restaurants that opened on Memorial Day and gave polis the middle finger. Where you feel like you have a string tied to your ankle and you can't do anything because you're afraid you're going to lose your business, right? And what we decided was that we're going to lose our businesses anyway. So after Reopen, we decided we had to have some teeth at the trade unions, the restaurant associations, the Chamber of Commerce. They were anemic. They didn't do anything. They didn't stand up. They didn't sue the state. They didn't try to protect any constitutional rights. So I wanted an organization that had teeth in it. So we developed this organization called fecunited, which is the national footprint. We now have about 11 states that want to become a part of it. And we started building out SOPs, started building out SOWs for how we were actually going to affect the community. So FEC stands for Faith, Education, and Commerce. There's 5 divisions. You'd be hard-pressed to find anything in your community, by the way, that is more important than those 3 things. That's the foundation of your community. So I didn't say Christian, I didn't say Catholic, I said faith, because churches, getting that spiritual nourishment is as important as the food you eat. And so we saw that as, how do we organize churches so that they can actually open and have the courage to open? On the education side, how can we support our kids? You want to know if a pandemic's going to happen? Let me tell you about a pandemic. It's going to be the mental health pandemic we have if we don't get kids back to school full time come the fall. So getting parents out there organized, collectively together. We have power in numbers. We have the ability to come together collectively and stand against tyranny. Yet we don't because we feel helpless when we stand alone. So being able to be a support system for teachers and parents and children on the education side, and other organizations with that have been helping with other things for children. And then the commerce side, business, right? Replace trade unions, replace the Chamber of Commerce. We've been hiring attorneys. We've been hiring people that can actually get the message out, that can actually do the work that you're talking about on the street for businesses, but also give businesses a collective voice in their community. So we built out charters, we built out SOPs, standard operating procedure, which gives more teeth back to the businesses so they can feel like they have a voice in government. So then there's 2 that we didn't talk about on the sides. Greg knows about that very well. That's policy and politics. We need to elect people from our community, you. We need to elect you and you and you. From people from our community that can come back into the community and listen to you. Then go back to wherever they are at the state or the national level and make decisions based on what's good for you in the community. Not what's good for some pharma company or not what's good for some big business. the last thing, and I know I took more time than I said I would, but the last thing is that we wanted to be able to protect our communities. Antifa comes in. I saw a few of those little clowns around the edges, right? They come in here. They're a bunch of cowards, right? They stand in here. They try to intimidate people when we have protests. I was at the pro-police protest, right? And I'm always going to back the blue. So they can kiss my ass. But let me tell you something else, and I'm really sorry I'm going over. I didn't mean to do this. 3 years ago yesterday, or 2 years ago tomorrow, my brother, 36 years old, killed by a police officer, murdered by a police officer in Virginia. Murdered. It's taken me 3 years, and they said, hey, we didn't believe that you had a brother like this guy, right? They said, we didn't know he had a brother like you. He was knocked off a motorcycle at 90 miles an hour, knocked into a wall, hit a pole, broke his neck, and died. That's my brother, my kid brother, who I love very much. And they lied. So I backed the blue because it was an individual event. It was an individual decision that made that decision that killed my brother. And there are good people everywhere, and there are bad people everywhere in every profession. But 99% of the police officers out there, the only thing they want to do is protect you and your family and protect their community. So that 5th division that we have, that 5th division is called UADF, United American Defense Force. So that Antifa, they surely can kiss my ass, but they're going to kiss thousands of our asses because Tig is actually running that division. John Tigan is running that division. And so far, since we put it out there, we have 57,000 people in Colorado that have signed up to be a part of FEC. We have 108,000 people that follow us in one capacity or another. We have over 4,000 people that have signed up to defend the communities inside of Colorado, and we've only talked about it once. So when we hold rallies, we don't hold protests. When we hold rallies, where they're going to be there to protect you. They're going to be there to stand side by side with you. And we're not a militia. They're not a militia. They're there to protect and defend that constitutional right you have to be there. And so they won't fire the first shot or the second shot, but I promise you they will kick the Antifa's teeth in if they try to do anything to disrupt what we do to protect our rights. So if you want to learn more about it, it's fecunited.com. That's Foxtrot, Echo, Charlie, United.com. And I want to thank you guys all for coming out here. I thought there'd be like 50 people here, so this is pretty awesome. We have events right now, one in Lamar, one in Colorado Springs, one in Denver. So all you get is me because they're running these other events. But I'm proud of every one of you, and I got to tell you, and I'm sorry if you don't support them, but go Trump.